In 1980, a death near her home changed the course of one woman's life, and arguably the course of women's rights policy in India. She wrote the book, Brides Are Not for Burning. She built the Center for Social Research into one of India's most respected organizations on gender justice. My guest today is Dr. Ranjana Kumari. 4 decades have passed. Dr. Kumari is still fighting the same fight, only now the battlefield has moved online. The threatening letters are now a deepfake. The silencing of a woman in her neighborhood is now a coordinated harassment campaign that can reach 1 million people by morning. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, welcome to AINS.
Thank you for having me.
Great. It's a pleasure to have you here. I would like to understand a bit about your personal journey. So, what was it that made you decide so early in your life that this was the work you needed to do? Was there a moment, or did it build slowly?
Well, I come from a freedom fighters family. Also, that Gandhian values were very high in my family. But as it is the eastern part of India, which is very, very strongly, the society is weaved around a lot of patriarchal value system. So I also had to face discrimination in terms of, what kind of education I must do, where I must go and study. I'll tell you the story about that soon. But then when I came after a lot of struggle at home to Delhi, and sending a woman all the way from Varanasi to Delhi to study was not acceptable norm in our times in my city. Here in Delhi, I got in touch with some women leaders like Pramila Danwate. And one fine evening, she calls me to say that some of you girls come quickly and reach at this address in close to Karol Bagh. And that's where everything changed for me. Not only my understanding of life, but also my ambition in life. Why, all the whole question of my existence. I think it's a death which was cruelly done by the family. A girl was tied to a cot and she was burnt. So, and then family was, of course, all the time the in-laws families were saying that this is a death by suicide. Suicide, and family insisted that no. Parents said no, it's a kind of killing. And then, of course, that shocked me. That really, even today, I can see goosebumps when I remember of that scene. And of course, then I decided to start working on understanding first what is this and why it is happening in our society, and later, of course, years and years of work towards empowering women.
And then you are talking about the year when I was born, and even when I was 20, I saw the sensage or the example that you are giving, the situation that was true even then. So I can imagine what was the situation 20 years back when you started. So kudos to you. One thing that comes to my head is that you have a PhD in political science from JNU, and you explained how did you reach towards activism. But often people choose one or other. How did you hold to both together?
Well, research normally informs society, individuals, and that's why I went for a higher level of education and did my PhD. And then also activism basically tells what matters to society. Right. And informs the society about what really matters. And also, of course, the policy then finally works towards changing that situation. So I think I have worked in all the three spaces. I did my research to understand the problems women are facing in our society. I also then started, from street action to building an institution to respond to that with careful understanding of it. So we did advocacy, but it was informed advocacy. We have, then we trained ourselves. I trained myself to understand the data, to understand, how society is treating women, whether it is employment, whether it is health issues, whether it is domestic violence, whether, protection of women. So every which level. And also then move to, then that was my activism to really start mobilizing women across the country created an institution where about 1900 organizations of women and NGOs became the member, called Women Power Connect, as a very strong advocacy body. And then, of course, I also worked at the policy level. So I do see a very, very direct connect and continuum between the three kinds of understanding in my life that I develop over the years.
Oh, fascinating. And I believe that's what enables your critical thinking, because you got the depth of research, you got practical experience with your activism, and coming from the roots of developing a space within India also, and then turning towards thought leadership. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Coming towards AI, because that's the thing of the moment and everyone talking about, and I want to see your view on that topic. So let's start with something about AI Action Summit, where you were last year. You wrote after the summit that gender was only discussed at the edge of the agenda. You have also been inside platform safety councils yourself for many years. So from both those places, what would it actually take to put gender at the center of how AI governance is designed, and not just afterthought?
Very good question. Let me tell you that in fact, technology has moved very fast, and AI technology is moving faster. But when you look at the patriarchy, it really takes over. It moves much faster than even the technology. And also, basically, what technology at the moment, especially AI, is doing is presenting what the societies are living, the values, the norms, the culture, all the data, all the information in all these models are what society is actually doing in big way. So that's what we see, that even in this space, we do see a lot of discrimination, and also women are facing, instead of taking advantage of this AI, because it is actually, if it is taken in the right way and not misused, and also that it understands how patriarchy operates, then certainly it is going to be a great advantage to women, and could be a very big equalizer. Like always I say that in education, when the education revolution came, women got left behind because they did not get the opportunity to get education. Similarly, with this technology, which has a huge amount of possibility for shaping the future of our society, and much more for women in terms of their dignity, their empowerment, and also safety. It's not happening because we need to do much more to achieve that goal, or you can say the dream that I feel that I have, is to really have the technology which can give dignity, safety, and equality for women.
So that's true. And but what is that stopping these big players? Is it that people do not understand the problem, who are in that building the solutions or the models, or they understand it but do not want to prioritize it?
Well, as you know, that the knowledge can be acquired, but it is determined by who controls this knowledge.
Right.
So who has the power to control this knowledge? If that's the situation, then which we are witnessing now, then certainly I will say that a lot of these people, it's not that people don't understand that, but since our society, our policies, our governance model does not have priority about what women's needs, their desire, their requirements in life. So that's why you will see that a lot of it is not taken care of. And also that how important it is for women to any space. I mean, society, they're facing unsafe environment all the time, whether you are on the road, whether you are in the bus, wherever you are, even inside the home, there is so much violence against women. So even if it is, understood by the engineers, they have to really work towards, and some of effort has been made, but it has to be that, it has to be something which is safety by design, as everybody is saying today. But one has to really deconstruct that idea of safety by design, especially in the context of women and children. And that's where things will start and changing in a very, very major way.
Yeah, that resonate well to me, because I do see that challenge, the models replicating the society, And society has certain norms. Society already had these gaps, and those gaps are becoming exponentially high when it is replicated into a machine, right? Earlier this year, Grok AI built into Twitter was found to be generating sexual images of women without their consent. Not because someone has hacked it, that is how it was built. So when a company is making an AI product, at what point should someone ask, how can this be used to harm women? Because this was figured out later, should have been figured out before.
This whole synthetic sexual abuse really worries me the most because, and that's what happened with Grok, when the whole undressing came to our knowledge, immediately we acted and reached the Secretary Meti, Mr. Krishnan, because he has been very supportive of our, the whole global conference that we are organizing, the TASI. So, and it was within days, it was brought to the notice of the company, and I'm so glad that immediately the action was taken and it was brought down. But sexual content which is synthetically generated now, and also a lot of it which is harming not only women and children, but also small 7-year, 5-year, 6-year-old children with CSAM, which is child sexual abuse online.
Right.
It needs to be really a consensus has to be built between policymakers, users, and also with the tech companies that there is zero tolerance for this kind of a content. And that's what we are hoping and working towards.
What is missing? Because it worries me as well, because we are talking about 50% of the population, and it's simply unacceptable or unexpected that such a thing is not tested, right? That it's just the ignorance. It's not really seen by them, or it's not the priority.
Well, my whole conviction is that if societies tolerate discrimination, then we can see AI scaling the discrimination, and that's what it is. That, when we are living in a very, very unequal society, very patriarchal, very, which really subordinates women, which really keeps a lot of, they're not part of any kind of, when you look at globally also, where are women in terms of governance, governments, and control and power? Women are all out. So when society is tolerating this kind of a sexual discrimination, abuse, and so then this also finds a space. And these are the same people in our society who really use and abuse the technology to present this to people. But certainly, I would like to, in recent incidents of ad on one of the major technology platforms, which could post an ad which was child sexual abuse ad. And there was so much of problem that, we immediately had to mobilize, talk to the company, talk to the government, and then this whole issue was paid attention to. But then here are the people who are producing this, in a society which is abusing children. There are so much of pedophile, content and material because people are really producing it, and it's happening in our society. And what they do is they're using the technology platform and escalating it from there. Will have to be very careful, and they have to be really seeing it in the perspective of how their space should not be used, because their space has to be more alert, more creative, more safe. And that's what the whole thing is all about. And also, basically, when a society which values equality will certainly have a technology which will value equality. So that's my whole thing, that, we are already fighting all these issues in society. And if technology will not help us in the long run, then certainly we are not able to resolve these issues.
Yeah, and technology can only help if people guide it to help. That's the bigger underlying situation. And the point that you highlighted very well, I think it was the case with Instagram, which was widely popularized. Also with BBC reported that they were having paid advertisement for promoting child sexual abuse. So there's a thought behind it. There's a business model behind it, which is seriously worrisome.
It goes without saying that AI, amplifies everything which is already there in society.
Yeah.
And that is where the caution has to be exercised.
Exactly. So the 10x our positive capabilities, but 10x the negativity as well. So we need to have better controls there. There was also a report from UN Women, I think, that that complements to what you said. And this was already 3 years back when UN Women reported that AI-generated child sexual abuse material grew 380% in 1 year. And we are talking about 2024 already. I do not have latest numbers. So when the material is AI generated rather than real, does the law even know how to respond to it?
Also that, yeah, you're so right. I mean, like so much. That means there are so many such things happening in our society. So much of this material, people who are creating the material exists there. And then there are people who are taking advantage. There are people who are taking money out of this such kind of a material. So basically, that's the thing about even women's reputation. Once they put this kind of a synthetic sexual material about a woman, so even if it has not happened in reality, by the time she will fight back, by the time it is brought to the notice of the government, of the technology company, she will have already lost her reputation. I must give you an example. Even during the elections, they just posted a few things about one of the candidates, a winning woman candidate, who would have got into the India's parliament, but then they spread rumors about her and all synthetically generated material about her life and her friendships and all that. And finally, of course, they could spread the message like that. Then she couldn't even get the kind of vote that she was expecting to get, and she lost her election. So, and journalists, for example, is done against the women journalists, is done against so many people are targeted. I mean, how to say that I myself is victim, because I stand very strong and I speak without any compromise. I just say what I have to say. I call a spade a spade. If patriarchy is there, if women have been exploited, if women are being killed for want of dowry, even today, if women are raped, then I have to say it. And I also blame the institutions. I question the accountability system. So I also face a lot of this kind of, abuse online. So, yeah.
That brings to a very interesting point. India introduced a new rules this year saying platforms must remove harmful AI-generated content within 3 hours of a complaint, right? And you have worked inside platform safety long enough to know how this works in practice.
Yeah.
Is 3 hours actually meaningful? And does it solve some of the concerns that you are making?
Yes, I think sometimes the governments will have to also understand how this technology works. I'm not an expert on technology, but there are hashes which you cannot remove so quickly, and by the time you remove it, it must have multiplied. It must have gone to at so many levels through so many platforms we have. So it really is something which has to be taken care of. Removing, of course, as soon as it can be done. Technology should be developed towards that also. If the technology is there to provide space for posting such content, then there should be also technology to remove it as fast. But at the moment, removing it as fast as possible in 3 hours, I think technology companies should respond to it. Not me, but it is quite a difficult proposition. Now, the second thing is about in reality, in fact, when such content is posted, such content comes, then it has to be screened at that level. That would mean that investment more into human, content monitoring, not just AI. Because even that's what happened in the case of CSAM, that the AI technologies saw it in 3 different stages. There was nothing negative about the whole ad. There was not any abuse shown. Only a child was shown with a man, and also in the picture. And then there was no video streaming after that. So the AI must have not seen it carefully, not understood the whole content and context. So that is why the content monitoring has to be done much more carefully, with much more this thing. And also, as we always say, it has to be safety by design. So products will have to be tested, seen, like we do it in our committee, our councils, that every product has been presented to us and we review all the possibilities. But there are a lot of things which we are not able to see at the moment, and technology companies can. So they should not look at only the financial gains out of what they are doing, but also human protection, human safety.
Yeah. No, absolutely spot on. So Technology facilitated gender-based violence covers an enormous range. Deepfakes, stalker wave, coordinated harassment, image-based abuse, some of which we talked about, and we saw that how it is affecting the society and women especially and children. There are places where AI is making these problems worse, as you also explained. But are there also places where AI is making any of them better?
Well, if I've understood your question right, maybe, well, it is certainly, I would say that every technology comes with a challenge. You know, I don't know if you grew up in Indian villages. I grew up in a village near Varanasi, and I remember my grandmother telling me a story of railway when it came to India, and how the engine, when it enters the village with so much of black smoke coming out of that, and so much of noise, and big engine, people were so scared that they will go to the temple, they will offer flowers to the god and say that this is something which is going to be very dangerous for our people will get cut by them, they will be dying, our animals will be dying. So much of scare was there. But today, look at the where the technology is. We want to reach places in 3 hours, and we have fastest railway than we wanted. Similarly, many things. I just want to give examples of also technology in our kitchen, and then also how the life becomes better. But then initially there are so much of problem. So I'm sure in the long run, technology is going to be really very helpful. And for me, I'm not one of the naysayers saying that AI is dangerous and we can't go back on it. I think we all understand that. And as engineers and MIT students, you will know more than me that there is no question of going back on it. So when we are moving forward, we should be able to look at it in a manner, or develop it in a manner in which it serves the humanity and doesn't make humanity serve it.
Exactly. So we need to constructively figure out that how to make it well. And you were spot on that the benefits are so enormous, financial as well as in general for humanity. So there's no going back, and we need to see how to make the best out of it. WhatsApp announced a username feature this week. And what it means is, individual, I can choose to have an actress name as my username being there. And by doing so, I can communicate with people. So far, it used to have your number visible very clearly. Meta calls it a privacy upgrade, but the same feature that protects a user's number from a stranger also protects a harasser's identity from a victim. From where you sit on platform governance and putting your thought leadership hat, okay, how do you think about design decisions that are genuinely double-edged? So the intent is right in one way.
Over the years, I have seen that every safety feature protects some and also becomes challenge for some others. Every whichever way it has been deployed, whichever way it has been developed. So also that. So I would say that any responsible governance by tech companies needs to look at both, and people who have been challenged needs to be brought into the protection realm. So that's something which about on WhatsApp, it came as a good idea. It came as an idea which, everybody was saying that, phone number means a lot of unnecessary calls, fake calls, all that, and we get exposed. So let's have some kind of a different identity possibility also. So just to say it in one sentence, I would say that privacy and accountability are not opposing values. So while you will protect, you also should be responsible, accountable. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting setup, and it's indeed a two-sided sword. India has now paused, right? That was I understand.
Yeah, because we also are saying that any good design should achieve both, which is accountability and privacy, both.
Yeah. So it should have larger good, but we cannot ensure that it is only good. We have to accept the side effect of it. I run an AI organization, as you know, with gender equality woven into our missions. We have our gender equality strategy, actually, we have written. But we build that largely through European mindset. Okay? From your vantage point, what does it take for an AI organization or for that instance, any organization to be generally credible on gender rather than just naming it?
Well, you see, we all live in societies which are different. Our cultures are different. The way we look at women and gender equality issue are also to some extent different. So to make it a global standard, we cannot say that what is happening in Europe and the kind of response that Europe is coming up with will also work in India. Or what is happening in, for example, Brazil has just come up with some very interesting framework for CSAM, or Australia has taken some other kind of stand. So I think this is something we all have to somehow look at all the societies, culture, their own systems, and come to some kind of a general consensus. So far, that has not happened.
Right.
Every part of the world is responding to it in their own way. And that's a part of the problem also. Because, when we quote, for example, in our meetings here, policy meeting, oh, this is what is happening in this part of the world or that part of the world. And finally, we realize, no, this is not going to work here. Because, just one very small example I would like to share with the audience is that, look, for India, holding hand, putting hand around a woman's waist, or there's no question of kissing in public, you see, which is very normal in Europe. So where do you really say what is exposing too much, what is vulgar, what is, and kind of dress also that we wear, we have to be very covered, we have to be, the society appreciates that. Of course, young women are choosing to do whatever, but still there is some kind of a system. So that one has to understand. One has to understand that when you are creating a kind of, say, for example, let's say safety, communities safety guideline by a tech company, and is saying that, look, beyond this is not tolerable because this is exposing women, or this is really body which is being shown, and this much only you can do. Then I will say, no, for us this is also not applicable, because we are different way, our society looks at women very differently, So that's something which will have to be kept in mind when we are creating a kind of global common standards, and then only it will be very effective.
And it's very difficult to create such a global common standard because of the context, and context changes everything.
Yeah, and also, I'm sure you understand that government has a responsibility to protect its citizen. And also we work within the democratic framework. That means we have to hear the different voices, how different kind of people are. So in that context, we have to create maybe perhaps not a one common standard for everybody.
Yeah. And I see India is much more diverse than any of the Western countries, because a part of India is also as modern as any European country, and a part of India is a lot behind. Not saying in a negative way, but more as cultural reality.
Absolutely. You spot on that. We are, in fact, we are a continent in itself. When you go to south of India, it's totally different. North and northeast, and every part of the country is very different. So any standard becomes stronger when they include multiple realities rather than assuming one experience will work everywhere. So what is it saying that how do you say it in English? One solution fits all. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly. One solution doesn't fit all. And India is a great example for it. I recognize that for sure. So you have represented Global South. Let's talk a little bit about this. It's a good linking point for Global South versus rest, and how AI is making things good or bad. Okay. You also represented India at Geneva and on technology platform councils. What is the most common failure mode? People do not believe the realities you describe. They believe them sometime, but they cannot act. So even if somebody understand in that council, but they cannot act because of XYZ reason, or they can act in ways that miss the point entirely that you are trying to say. Would you like to share some experiences?
Yes, first of all, let me tell you, my firm conviction is that Global South should not just provide data, but it should also provide ideas. And those ideas should be accepted and also should be embraced by all. We cannot become just the people who are using the content, but we are also people who are contributing to content creation. and give our ideas to that. And that is what my concern, which led me to do a lot of work for the Global South, and also to say that voices of the Global South needs to be heard. As I explained to you, the cultural context, I explained to you the society that we are living in, issues that we are facing at the moment, different levels of, power relations, we are facing inequalities, we are facing many, many layers of issues. So that needs to be looked at and kept in mind, especially in the context of gender, the discrimination, for example.
Right.
So all that needs to be kept in mind. So I think those ideas need to be consulted, and we need to feed into the main system those ideas. And of course, whichever platform people like me are speaking or delivering a keynote or sitting on the advisory boards or policy making bodies, we are flagging it. But by and large, it's we who reach out and deliver or talk about it. It is the companies, it is the people who are developing all these systems and taking the data needs to be also reaching out and understanding it. And that is why this platform that we are saying we are voices of Global South. We have a dialogue between the tech companies, with policymakers. We are a civil society, so that there can be a kind of environment where we can understand each other better. Instead of raising fingers, that's not going to help. Just saying, oh, this is all wrong and you are all, whatever. Blaming is not going to help. Cooperation and coordination and understanding each other is going to help.
Oh, that's a great summary that indeed we need to come up with a constructive outcome that how to do better. And of course, we can complain, but we need to find solution. That brings my next question. If a young woman from a smaller Indian city, let's say Banaras, which is no more a smaller Indian city anymore.
Where I come from.
Yeah, where you come from.
Yes.
The beautiful city. And if a young woman come from there and she wants to use AI to build something for her community, what would you tell her? How will you empower her?
First of all, I would say that don't fear. Don't only start with negative. Don't only look at the harm. Just women should also shape technology. And I'm of the firm conviction that women also get into the shaping of technology in a very, very major way. The moment that will happen, a lot of these issues, as we always say that women should become part of the governance, for the Senate, 50-50 gender balance. That I have worked for whole of my life. So I think that's once that is happening in the tech sector also, and women become part of shaping of the technology, then certainly many, many things will change for women, and they know solutions because they face the problem. Yeah. So that's something which is very important, that more women should get engaged with that, not only at the level of bottom of this pyramid, but also at the top of the pyramid.
It also gives me an opportunity for making a small announcement from AI for All Global that we are trying to do. We are giving up with a new initiative to enable 1,000 women leaders internationally in the field of AI. And we are going to start this initiative in early Q4 of this year, and with this very aim. And we would seek your support and contribution as well there.
Well, you're most welcome. It's the right time to be in this part of the world, and much more so in India, because we have accepted the idea which we started mobilizing as women's movement, and my institution and myself for 33% reservation for women. It's been passed. It's been, I think this session of Parliament will accept the idea to be implemented in 2029 election. And we have run courses when we passed the Panchayati Raj Institution bill to have 33% women there. We created 1,000 women compendium where we identified women at the rural level and then tried to start building their good biodata so that political parties can pick up those women for contesting and getting into the government. Now, this time it will be much higher level, state assemblies and national parliament. We also have developed a course with IIM Bangalore, which was where women were trained to become leaders. We've sent them to League One. They brought them to Delhi, to JNU. So I think there is a very well-developed programs and all, and we can cooperate. And if we can use AI technology in that, it will be brilliant. It will be fantastic. So I congratulate you on starting such an initiative.
Thank you, and I look forward to it. This year, actually, just 3 months back, UN found that digital violence, and I'm making a shift to another topic, uh, that the digital violence is directly affecting how long women stay in political life. And you have spent, coincidentally, almost my age fighting for women's political participation. When you see that finding, what does it tell you? Does it resonate with you? And about what is at stake if we get AI safety wrong? Okay. Because already digital violence is the reason why women leave politics. And now if AI amplifies it.
Well, for me, good technology should solve problems and not really create conditions for people to fear it. And also that technology should expand justice. That's what a good technology is all about. And I'm looking up to AI to be good technology, which is really going to solve the problem and expand justice. But as a lot of women fear it, I think it's true that women have been facing all kinds of online violence, but leaving politics perhaps is not really the data that we need to look at this point of time, because Indian women who have been in politics have been there for many reasons. One, that they come from the background of the family, so they continue in all situations. The second type of women who are in politics are the women who self-made women in politics are very, very few. I mean, I don't want to start naming people, but certainly very few women who really struggle, fight, go through the whole mill to be able to achieve the political power. So it's true, but in future also we have to protect that. It should not become an idea on online that it can destroy women's political space and their political image. That has to be, in fact, the first priority, because they are the ones, once they will win the election, they will get into the governance, into the, all kinds of parliaments and state assemblies to make policies, to be able to respond to all kinds of problems that is happening in our society, can work towards gender equality. So I think that's where also the caution has to be there, that, as I said, technology should be delivering justice. I'm always for digital justice. I do not know the term is really acceptable to a lot of people, but just the way we demand justice from governance, we demand justice from our government, we also demand justice from digital space.
All right. And I think it's only possible by participating in it. And that's the very first step.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this would be one of the key criteria for any AI solution, because from where I'm sitting, I do see a potential that it can increase that problem even more if it is not thought beforehand.
So it is the discrimination, how men treat women. And that's why all their ideas they're not able to do, because of the very aware women's groups and movement and pressure for respecting the dignity of women, pressure for giving gender equality in societies, accepting it as a norm and a value. So if they're not finding offline to be able to do that, they're doing it online. Imagine the cases that we receive. Even the husband, after relationship goes sour, says, "Oh, I can post those photographs and you will be not acceptable to anybody if I post those photographs." And that insult can lead to whatever extent.
Right.
So, those are because that's why these are the same people who are discriminating against women in society, in families, not giving equality and accepting equality, not understanding what gender justice means, are the people who are also using the online spaces for this kind of. So we have to be doubly careful when we are using the AI and online spaces.
Indeed, I think that's the bottom line that's important, doubly careful, because we already are talking about that the women participation is quite less in politics and in leadership at many places. And let's say if it is 20% and we are striving to take it further to 30 to 40, while there comes a new technology which put even 20% at risk. And then,
in India, it's only 15%, Prabhat. It's only 15%, 14.7% that the women got into the parliament, and state assemblies even 7%. There are assemblies, there is now not even one woman is elected member. So we are really in a very bad shape when it comes to women in politics.
Yeah, so that makes it even more important for the
Yeah.
nation like India, which is even more vulnerable, where women are not that empowered already, and the society in general is not 100% educated. Then we need to have these preconditions even before that. Very nice talking to you, Dr. Anjana. I would like to ask some rapid fire questions. One word that describes where AI and gender rights stand right now.
Uh, Crossroads.
Good one. Um, a book other than your own that every AI policy maker should read.
Invisible Woman.
I will read as well. That.
Yes, you better read it. Yes, you will understand what is really happening to women.
Yeah. The most underestimated voice in conversation about AI safety.
I would say rural women because we work with a lot of women at the grassroots in the rural areas, and it's a rural women. Because a lot of young girls are getting caught up with making reels and they don't understand at all the consequences, and they are the ones who need the maximum protection.
Something you wish technology platforms would stop doing immediately.
That's a tough one. Well, they have to embrace safety by design and not afterthought.
Finish this sentence. AI will have truly served women when.
When they'll expand choices for women, and also they will ensure women that they are safe online.
Very nice. That completes my short list of rapid fire questions. It has been genuinely enlightening conversation, and I'm gonna read the book that you mentioned. But as we reach towards the closure, I also want to hear from you a bit about your initiative, TASI, and understand what impact you are trying to make. And as you are already building TASI 2026 for October this year, if you could put one conversation on that agenda that the industry is still avoiding, what would it be?
Well, when I became part of some very major companies' safety advisory board and councils, I realized that a lot of things are happening because the global south has not been well understood and their concerns, especially in the context of gender. So I felt that that we are a large consumer base for a lot of tech companies. B, that we also have our own issues which are very specific to global south, and that we need to be heard at all the platforms, global platforms. That whole input has to go into building the construct, that safety that we are talking about in global south. And on the other side, about the policies also, that our policymakers need to be having a space where they can dialogue with the tech companies, and also tech companies should hear, and also government should hear the civil society. So TASI is the first initiative by Civil Society of India, where we are, and as an organization, Center for Social Research initiated it, and we are taking it to this year again on 14th and 15th of October, where we are inviting people from all over the world. All major tech players will be there: Google, Meta, Microsoft, everybody. I mean, I think, and also a lot of coalitions which are working with these companies to make it a safe space, and all the safety, trust and safety experts will be there. At the same time, civil society organizations which are working, and also, of course, our government policymakers will be there. So that space, and also that space will have both kinds of possibility. One is the closed door discussions. They can be talking very openly to each other, and there'll be, of course, some public spaces where people will be able to talk about their experiences. Last year, it was like a star event. It was considered by Government of India as the first effort towards AI summit. So it was considered as pre-summit. And then we had a very large Government of India summit. So this year we are again doing it. And I hope all of you and everybody who's listening to me will take interest. We have a website, TASI website. Everybody can go and check out all the details that what happened last year and what kind of area of discussion and issues that we are proposing for this year.
I wish you all the best with TASI 2026, and I'm pretty sure the amazing work that you are doing with TASI will make a positive impact to India and in general global society and women in large.
You are most welcome. Your group is most welcome, Prabhat. You all are invited. And also, we have in the past, let me tell you, have managed to change the law. We have managed to change all kinds of institutions of discrimination. So I'm sure we will collectively make a very big impact on the whole technology, especially AI technology, to humanize the AI technology and also to have the digital justice that I always talk about.
You know, our mission statement starts with the sentence human centered AI, and that's what we focus. So I love to hear that from you. Before we close, one last question I would like to ask. After a decade of all the work that you have been doing, grassroots level to the policy house, to the parliament, everywhere you have been, what gives you the most hope right now? And what keeps you going when the progress feels sometimes slow?
Well, there was a time when there was a lot of despair and hopelessness, and also we used to say we needed chair at the table, the whole famous saying. But now we see capacity of women to build their own table and bring their own chair and be part of the decision making. And that's one call that I have always believed in. And now I see that many, the whole new generation of women in India and in South, global South, are totally prepared and getting ready to build their own table and bring their own chairs and make decisions.
Wonderful. Uh, so basically, the number might look lesser, the 14% which you referred earlier, but it's growing number, and that's the brighter side.
Yeah, we could push the government to reserve 33% seat in parliament and in states. And I'm sure when you like in panchayat, you know about India.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in panchayat, 33% was given and every state has given 50% now. And everywhere women are 50-50. 50% men and 50% in the panchayat level, which is the 3-tier system we have. So
Right.
from district to block to panchayat.
Wonderful. I wish you all the best. And wherever I can contribute in my personal capacity, I'll be very glad to do that. And thank you very much for speaking with me.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And I'm very happy that I have been able to be part of this podcast of yours. Thank you.